And welcome back to Adelaide International Raceway, where we're preparing for round 5 of the Shell Ultra Australian Touring Car Championships. Jimmy Richards, pole sitter in the JPS BMW M3, car number 3. And before a huge crowd here today at Adelaide International Raceway. For those people who believe that live television can injure a crowd at a racetrack, take a look at this. Overcast skies, rain this morning, a magnificent turnout, and obviously something to be kept in mind for later rounds of the Touring Car Championship. Let's take a look at how they'll line up today. The top 12 for round 5. Jimmy Richards has pole in the JPS BMW. Larry Perkins off 2 in the NZ Connectors Commodore. From 3 is Alan Grice in the Bob Jane T-Mart VL Commodore. From 4, Tricky Dicky Johnson of Queensland in the Shell Ford Sierra. From 5:30, Georgie Fury in the Peter Jackson Nissan Skyline. From 6:75, Colin Bond in the Caltex Alfa Romeo. From 7:15, Glenn Seaton in the second of the Peter Jackson Nissan Skylines. From 8:4, Tony Longhurst in the JPS BMW. From 9, car number 6, Peter Brock in the Mobile Commodore. From position number 10 is car number 18, Greg Hansford in the second of the Shell Sierras. From 11:35, Andrew Maidecki in the Oxford Supercube Ford Sierra. And from 12:34, Donnie Smith in the second of the Oxo Supercube Sierras. And of course, for round 5 today, the same as round 1, the innovative promoter Bob Jane has a rolling start for the Touring Car Championship round. We saw an absolute screamer off the line at Calder Park in Melbourne, where the series opened back on the first weekend in March. They're on the second of 2 warm-up laps. The pace will be brought down just a little now to bring the drivers back into order. I think our friend George Fury would have certainly gone for a rolling start last week. That might have cured some of the problems of George getting off the line with a broken axle. But we could well see Jimmy Richards swamped here when the pace car pulls off the circuit. And here we have Alan Grice sitting right in behind the Shell pace car, trying to warm up their tyres. Jimmy Richards, Larry Perkins, the front row. Adelaide has always been a 3 grid off the line. At the moment, they're waiting for Jimbo to move up into position.
Well, this was an interesting debate this morning when they had the drivers' briefing. It seemed a little strange, but nobody could quite work out whether they should have 3-2. And I think after Alan Grice and a few other drivers made various comments, and of course it depends on who you are and where you are as to whether you prefer a 3-2.
Grice said love a 3 start.
And anyway, they sorted it out, and finally everybody decided it was a hot idea if we had a 3-2, so that's nice.
Well, that's very unusual, because someone's going to lose out on that one.
Be very crowded down the bottom.
Surely the supplementary regulations, which are like the rules of the meeting that are issued to every competitor beforehand, state that the grid here is 3-2. That's what it is, so that's the way they started the roller.
Cars moving in for this staggered start. 3 off the front line, 2 in the second row, 3 off the third, 2 in the fourth, 3 off the fifth, and 2 in the sixth. Pace car staying on the racetrack at this stage. It's only when the pace car driver is satisfied and the stewards of the meeting are satisfied that all the cars are in position, will they dispatch them, so we could well have one more lap. No, the pace car pulls out at the last moment. Richards has the pole. Grice on the outside of the front row. They all grab for gears. And it's pedal to the metal for round 5 of the Touring Car Nationals. Grice has missed the draft to Larry Perkins. Johnson is coming up, just shuffling his way through the pack. It's Larry Perkins who takes over the lead. Richards has been swamped as they make it down to the right-hander. Perkins will lead them into the right-hander. Second is Grice. Third, I think, is Georgie Fury in car number 30. What a start from Fury. Then back behind them is Jimmy Richards and Tony Longhurst, also well positioned.
Well, that was a very, very good rolling start. Tim Schenken, I think, did a great job in the pace car. He managed to bunch this field up. They all had big plans this morning of making a huge rush at the first corner and swamping everybody. That was thrown out the window, and it's Larry Perkins in the NZ Commodore who has the lead. Grice, Fury, then the 2 BMWs. Brock's moved up pretty well indeed. There's Denny Holm, Andrew Maidecki.
They work the Yokohama straight coming down to Motorcraft Corner. Right-hander brings them back onto the start-finishing line here at Adelaide International Raceway. And Larry Perkins in the NZ Connectors Commodore leads it from Gricey, Fury, Jimmy Richards. Then Tony Longhurst well-positioned as well as they work the front straight. And just look at George Fury now starting to get on equal terms with Alan Grice, sitting right in his draft. Dick Johnson is the next one back, and also Brock.
Tony Longhurst, in fact, has made his way up and past Jim Richards in that opening lap. And there's George Fury in third place, well positioned in the Turbo Skyline. The car having been totally rebuilt since last weekend's 4th round of the championship in Perth. New engine, new transmission, new everything virtually.
New axles.
Especially new axles.
The pace for this one, a cracker as they come down towards the turn onto the oval. They've come through the Bridgestone S's. The little JPS BMWs are playing toe jobs again today. Yokohama straight. Perkins, Grice, Fury, then the 2 BMWs. Behind them is Dickie Johnson, Glenn Seaton, Peter Brock is the next one, followed by Colin Bong, Greg Hansford and Andrew Madecki. 2 laps completed. Round 5 of the Shell Ultra Touring Car Nationals. Georgie Fury looking menacing, sitting in here behind Alan Grice. We'll see if he'll pull out of the draft. Johnson pulling out, Glenn Seaton going for the run as well. Heading down to the right-hander into the Shell sweeper. How close are they, the Commodore boys? And a good sight for Aussie V8 fans, but sitting right in behind them is the man in the Nissan that's going to make life unbearable, given another 10 or 15 laps.
All the makings of a fantastic race. The top 10 drivers, less than a second spreading them as they went to the grid. And although we've seen incredible changes in performance in the last couple of rounds, now we've got a V8, we've got a 4-cylinder turbo in 3rd position, we've got a 2.3-litre 4-cylinder fuel-injected car in 4th position. It's a real mix and match, and then behind them we've got Dick Johnson as well. Nothing separating these leading guys. Perkins, Grice, Fury, then Jimmy Richards now moving up a spot. Tony Longhurst, Dick Johnson, Glenn Seaton and Peter Brock.
Tremendous stuff, as you said, Neil. They work the front straight here at Adelaide International Raceway. Huge crowd in the background. Larry Perkins, here comes the farmer down the inside of Alan Grice. Taking the 2 JPS BMWs with him and getting on the even pace with him is Dickie Johnson in the Shell Ultra High Cosworth Sierra. Perkins still leads it. And everything that the Nissan can pull up on the Commodore seems to lose just marginally at the end of the back straight. Here's George Fury. He's going to fight hard for this one on Gricey. You'll well recall the scrap between Grice and Perkins last week at Wanneroo Park. In fact, Grice is helping Larry Perkins at this stage because Perkins is just inching away from Alan Grice, and he's got them backed up behind him like cabs at a city rank.
Well, Larry's got a beautifully balanced car at the moment. Alan Grice has tested long and hard this week to get his right. Now George Fury squeezing through on the inside, a brave manoeuvre. Shots from race cam. There's the back of the skyline, but George wanders a little wide, and Grice having a look on the inside. Graphic shots from race cam as they run down the straight once more. And now the torque of the Nissan starting to work just a little better. And it's Commodore leading Skyline, leading Commodore, and watch the black BMWs, they're in the draft.
Frantic pace in the opening laps of this round 5 of the Shell Ultra Nationals. There's the friendly farmer from Tal Malmo, Georgie Fury. Didn't have the best of luck last week, and he is blitzing here today at Adelaide International Raceway. The big thing now is whether Jim Richards and Tony Longhurst can take Grice. I don't think it'll be long before Fury moves up on the bumper of Larry Perkins. The car looking very, very strong at this stage of the race. Grice just ahead of the 2 black BMWs. What a great shot as they work their way onto the oval. Jimmy Richards, number 3, pole sitter for the race, and back in 4th at the moment. Longhurst is not sitting more than a metre off the bumper of Jim Richards. Wherever Jim's going in the draft, Tony's going to follow. And a little miss coming out of the motor that time of Larry Perkins as they came off the bowl. Perkins' motor sounding a little off. We'll see whether Fury can rope him in. Here's Dickie Johnson making a move on the first of the JPS BMWs. He's alongside Longhurst. There he goes down on the inside. Oh, no courtesies there, thank you very much. Nor should there be.
Gee, these guys have to concentrate. There's plenty happening in front. There's a lot happening in their own car, and their rear vision mirrors are absolutely filled at the moment. And it's Perkins who leads the pack. The engine in his car is the one they used to win the race at Pukekohe in the 2nd round of the Nissan Mobile Series this year. And look at Dick Johnson right in behind Tony Longhurst. Glenn Seaton also buying into the battle as well, and Peter Brock not lurking too far behind. Glenn had problems. He was the fastest guy, I think, on about Wednesday or Thursday of this week. Very, very quick. But then mysteriously the car developed a bad understeer problem, and they tested late into the night last night trying to get it sorted out. But he's now getting up very close onto the back of Dick Johnson. Perkins, again, a little miss from the car as he came onto the straight. From Fury, Grice, the 2 BMWs, Richards, Longhurst, then Dick Johnson, Glenn Seaton and Peter Brock. Behind them, Greg Hansford, Colin Bond, and then Andrew Mediki. That's about the top 11 or 12 cars.
6 laps of 60 completed. Round 5 of the Shell Ultra Nationals. Lightning Larry Perkins and the NZ Connectors Commodore leads the high-speed dress parade from Talmalmo's favourite citizen, George Fury, in car number 30, the Peter Jackson Nissan Skyline. They work their way out of the Shell sweeper. Grice still runs in third. And we'll see whether or not Fury can close up. He gets extremely close as they come onto the bowl. There's Perkins, the NZ Connectors Commodore. Down Yokohama straight towards the right-hander at Motorcraft. They've opened up probably 4 or 5 lengths lead over Grice, and then the 2 BMWs, Johnson and then Glenn Seaton. George pokes the nose down. He wants the inside running for the next turn. Larry's car just sounds a little off the top end as he comes across the line. 7 laps completed, but he runs away from this point down the long straight here. And here's Johnson pulling out, having another lick at Tony Longhurst. Glenn Seaton also coming up to join them for a 5-car draft as they approach the right-hander.
I've got the clock on Larry Perkins just to see exactly how quick he's circulating at the moment. These 2 drivers have opened up just a smidgen of a gap over the others. About 1.5 seconds back to Alan Grice, but you can see that gap quite comfortably. Brian Bolwell in the 323 BMW just getting tangled up in all this at the moment. Oh, goodness me. George Fury cops the short one there.
He certainly did, but that was really unfortunate for Brian. I think he tried to do the right thing, but they all swamped him so quickly. Now, if he stays to the inside here and out of harm's way, everything will be just fine.
Larry's gap now is just on a second as he comes up to Motorcraft. And it was just coming out of this corner, I think it was yesterday, in fact, Saturday, where he clipped the wall coming out the other side right there, knocked the guard around a little bit, only superficial damage. And Dick Johnson, again, the mover in the pack. He's got Tony Longhurst, he's right behind Jim Richards. And look at Glenn Seaton gobbling up Tony Longhurst on the way through. And Brock moving up well in car number 6.
This is a race. Round 5. Jimmy Richards, Dick Johnson sits back behind him. 3rd and 4th is the scrap at the moment that we're following. Right behind him, Tony Longhurst, Glenn Seaton, as you can see, and then Peter Brock is the next in line. Dick here making a run up right on Jimmy Richards, takes the outside, tries to squeeze through. Wasn't much room there. Won't expect any joy from Jimmy Richards. He's been concentrating here on trying to get on with the job of hauling in Grice, and now Johnson's come along and spoiled the game plan. Queenslanders unite.
Glenn Seaton really getting into this battle as well. 4 cars involved in the battle for 4th position, headed by Jim Richards at the moment. Then it's Johnson, Longhurst, and then Seaton right on the end of the tail.
And it didn't look like understeer then.
No.
Seaton's car with the tail hanging way out.
And in fact, Perkins' car sounded a little better that time. Here comes Johnson down on the inside of Jimmy Richards, and Glenn Seaton trying to find a way past Longhurst at the same time. Chalk up one for Tricky Dicky. He's come up to 3rd in car number 17, but Richards keeps pounding away at the inside of him. Order still unchanged. Larry Perkins, the race leader, 2nd spot held by Fury. 3rd is Alan Grice. The next one to field the challenge is going to be Dick Johnson as he moves forward. And Seaton looking very strong even at this stage.
When you consider the fact that he was so far down on the grid and had so many problems, he certainly moved up well, and in fact he is closing the gap on the leaders at the moment. We'll do some split time shortly and also get some lap times to get an idea of just what they're doing. Dick Johnson, we're watching, he is in 4th position at the moment in the Shell Sierra. The leader, Larry Perkins in the Commodore. From Fury, then Grice, Johnson, Richards, Longhurst and Seaton. Peter Brock bringing up the rear of that group.
And what a marvellous season.
Smoke coming off the rear left of Tony Longhurst's car.
Jim Richards maybe, and look at, oh dearie me, Team Tactics, one thing, he's going to get the ham and the sandwich treatment there. We'll keep on to that scrap, the BMW scrap. It's obviously where it's happening at. They are really carving each other up.
A couple of the young blokes flexing their muscles.
Tony must have clouded the wall as he came out of the corner because he's got a guard rubbing or some problem with the left-hand rear suspension or tyre, and that spells, I would say, doom for Longhurst. No problem when there's no load up on the car, you'll notice when they come down through this left-hander, but we'll watch again when he comes through the bowl area and loads up the left-hand rear.
Well, all this is happening just ahead of them, of course. You've got Alan Grice shortly under siege from one Dick Johnson of Queensland, and Fury getting closer all the time to the tail of Larry Perkins. About 4 races going here.
Has he ever hit the wall? She's got a nice old straight down the side. Now it's a question of whether or not he can survive.
Here's Johnson down the inside of Grice. Can he do it? Yes, there's race cam from Alan Grice's Bob Jane T-Mart's Commodore. Goes in, but it has to give Johnson the run through on the inside, and that moves Johnson up to third. Alan Grice in fourth spot. And of course they have a battle raging behind them as they exit Shell Turn. There's Jim Richards, the next one followed by Glenn Seaton, Tony Longhurst and Brocky. Down through the Bridgestone S's to the bowl once again.
Johnson the mover in the pack. The little Shell Sierra certainly performing pretty strongly at this stage. And George Fury within 1.5, perhaps even 2 car lengths of Larry Perkins at the moment. This is the gap between third and fourth. Alan Grice there on the left-hand side of the shot.
They come back onto the start-finishing straight, a long straight here at Adelaide International Raceway. And here's Georgie Fury in the Nissan Skyline. Larry Perkins leads the parade of drivers down the front straight. Getting closer all the time is Fury. Dick Johnson is third. Alan Grice is fourth. Jimmy Richards is fifth. Sixth is Glenn Seaton. Seventh is Tony Longhurst. Eighth is Peter Brock. And ninth is Greg Hansford.
All teams running their hardest compound tyres, but there's still no guarantees they'll get to 60 laps without problems.
It's closing up tremendously here. Georgie Fury. That's as close as George has been to the tail of Larry Perkins at any stage of this race. 12 laps of 60 into round 5 of the Shell Ultra Nationals. And Fury tails race leader Larry Perkins in the NZ Connectors Commodore. This time he might find a little opening. Larry's been easy on the tyres through this corner. He's been backing it out the last couple of laps, but he's got Fury looking for an inside run. He'll sit in the draft all the way down the straight and hopefully pull out at the last moment if he can get the right lie for the turn. But I tell you what, the Perkins car has got plenty of grunt going down the straight here at Adelaide. Make no mistake.
It also stops beautifully for a big car.
Yes, you've got to dip your hat to Larry Perkins and the NZ team. They have done a fantastic job of engineering a VK into a very quick car. He really does know how to drive. A former Formula 1 pilot, Formula 3 champion, raced just about everything you can imagine, and above all that, an excellent engineer.
And isn't he having a wonderful season? It's about time that Lady Luck shone a little on Larry Perkins. He's been in the shadows of a couple of other drivers and teams for so long. One tended to forget just what an accomplished driver, what a great engineer. And I tell you what, in 87, what a red-hot peddler he is. Fury is close this time, though, as they go across the line. Perkins checks out the mirror, knows where little George is. In the meantime, Johnson's gaining on the pair of them as they work the front straight. Grice is the next one back, trying to contain Jimmy Richards. And Glenn Seaton just sitting in behind them.
The championship leaders, Jimmy Richards and Glenn Seaton, very, very close to each other on the circuit.
Fastest lap of the race so far going to Larry Perkins. Let's take a look at the Castrol scoreboard. Larry Perkins the leader from George Fury, but only just. Then third place is Dick Johnson in the Sierra.
National Raceway, and just look at Dick Johnson pulling out of the slipstream on race leader Larry Perkins. What a race we've had going here, blistering pace. Perkins still leads it. As you saw just a few seconds ago, Johnson getting up on the inside of Georgie Fury and then making a full frontal attack on Larry Perkins in the NZ Connectors Commodore. Johnson is definitely the mover in the field at the moment. The Shell Ultra High Ford entry number 17 coming down through the Bridgestone S's, now onto the bowl. Fury closes up. And Johnson looking very relaxed behind the wheel as they now work Yokohama straight. Perkins will lead it. We'll see whether or not Dick's Turbo Sierra can get the best of the V8 the next time that they hit the front straight. Coming out of the bend now. Onto the start finishing straight. Perkins just there. Johnson sits in for the draft. Fury trying to catch up and go with Johnson. Johnson eager to jump out of the draft already and looks for the inside run. Perkins holds his position on the racetrack, and here comes Johnson.
Oh, he's lost the rear wing or something's come off the Sierra.
The rear wing has come off the back of the Sierra. We'll see how much that will play with Johnson's machine, because Perkins gets it a little sideways as they go through there. No, wing is still in straight. Could be a little of the bumper. Who knows? We'll find that out a little later. Perkins, though, making life somewhat difficult for Dick Johnson. But we have a good race going with Perkins, the pace setter, since lap number 1. Johnson sitting in very close behind him. Back behind them, obviously, is Georgie Fury. In car number 30, the Peter Jackson Nissan Skyline. onto the Yokohama back straight. The run down through the Super Bowl at Adelaide International Raceway. Once again, expect Johnson to pull out of the draft the next time they get about halfway down this long front straight. There's an official running across the circuit. I don't think it was anything off Johnson's car. Maybe it was something that was left on the track. Here comes Johnson down on the inside this time of Larry Perkins. And they are side by side at this stage. Perkins will go in deeper and try and head Johnson off into the turn. He just hasn't got enough to be able to get there ahead of Perkins. And Perkins is doing one heck of a job.
I think you're right. I don't think anything's come off the car. I've had a good look around it and it appears to be intact, so something must have been laying on the track. And there was a double yellow flag out down there. Larry Perkins and Dick Johnson, they were teammates a couple of years ago. They both got a lot of respect for each other. And a fascinating battle between, believe it or not, General Motors and Ford. And that's been the case over many years in Australian Touring Car Championship racing as Denny Holm pits. And there's the bits and pieces of fiberglass on the circuit. Bit hard to know what that's all about. And look at George Fury closing the gap under brakes as they go through Motorcraft. By G made a lunge on the back of Johnson that time. This battle is a long way from over. Dunlop tyres on all three of these leading cars at the moment, all radial tyres, but different compounds. There's Peter Williamson on the left-hand side of screen in the Toyota Supra. Grice with pressure on him from Seaton at the moment.
Has Johnson fired all of his artillery early? We'll have to wait and see. As they swing through the Shell sweeper, it's still Larry Perkins, number 11, the NZ Connectors Commodore, clear of Dick Johnson. Not that clear. George Fury is in third spot. They haven't changed, and in fact, they're opening up a bit of a gap over Alan Grice, next in line with Glenn Seaton, then Jimmy Richards. We saw a hell of a scrap at Wanneroo Park, and I think we're seeing something that's equal to that here today at Adelaide International Raceway. George Fury's race is far from over. He's trying to hurry Dick along. Dick was very close to the tail of Perkins' car. Just gone slightly off the boil in the last lap or so, and Fury wants to get back into business with Perkins again. Johnson trying to hang off until the very last moment and think about an inside approach to the turn through Shell. But everything they've been able to throw at Larry's been able to answer.
Further back, Jim Richards has been passed by Glenn Seaton. Young Glenn on the charge and looking for a pass on Alan Grice.
Drew Price there in the Toyota, getting out of everybody's way. Car number 35's calling to the pits, and that's Andrew Medicki. He's got problems with the OXO entry.
And Denny Holm is also in there, and Neville Crichton's Valvoline Ford Sierra. Bad luck for them. They're in with some problems. Once again, you'll see the trail for first back to sixth as they come down the front straight. Johnson sitting in behind Larry Perkins. And here comes Johnson again, trying to catch Perkins unaware and Kid Seaton. But here's Johnson on the inside and takes the lead in round number 5. Crowd erupting here on the front straight at Adelaide International Raceway as the top banana leads the bunch.
Great driving from Dick Johnson. Through on the inside, a comfortable braking manoeuvre. So the new order is Johnson, then Perkins, then Fury, Grice, Seaton with lots of pressure on him at the moment from Glenn Seaton, then followed by Jim Richards, and Tony Longhurst still surviving, and that tyre problem seems to have subsided.
Nicky Johnson, car number 17, the Shell Ultra High. Cosworth Sierra comes off the speed bowl in Adelaide, and the crowd, all the arms in the air. Tricky Dicky leads yet another one. Led Lakeside, that was surrounded in controversy when he had a tickle with the turbo. But Dick's doing it nicely and getting onto some of the slower cars in front that he's coming up on, just to advise with a little courtesy blink of the lights. Just a couple of laps ago, we picked up an interesting little point that you might like to take a look at now on our Shell Ultra High replay. Was Dick Johnson. Maybe we're looking at what went on. There's Dick just pulling up behind Larry Perkins, and maybe that's where there was a clip. No, it's
got me bluffed. Unless on the Sierras, there's a piece of fiberglass just on the leading edge of the rear wheel arches. It's like part of the flaring or the skirting of the car. Unless that piece has come off and we haven't been able to spot it, but it's curious. It seems to have come off Dick's car, but I can't find where it came from. We'll have another look as he goes past our commentary point.
Hard to pick.
It's got me bluffed.
Queensland's favourite son leads them across the line. Perkins in second, Fury is third, Grice is fourth, Seaton, then Richards. That's the order, and plenty of traffic to pass. They're coming up on Graham Hooley from Western Australia, and just ahead of him, Tony Noske also. There's Johnson on the inside of Graham Hooley. Graham moves to the outside, gives Dick a clean run, and Dick now up on Tony Noske, the Kalari Transport Commodore. And he'll probably catch him up through the S's coming down to the bowl, which he is doing just at this moment. As they come back onto the bowl, Noske moves to the outside, and Dick Johnson still leads them clear of Perkins. Through Motorcraft turn, there's the placings at the moment. Queensland's favourite son leads from Larry Perkins. Lap 27 of 60, round 5. Shell Ultra Nationals from Adelaide International Raceway. And Larry Perkins resisting every attempt by George Fury. Meantime, in the pit area, Greg Hansford is in problems with the second of the Shell Ultra High Cosworth Sierras.
When he went past our commentary point, the car was really coughing and spluttering, and he pulled straight into the pits. Only been happening for about a lap or so. That's Neil Lowe in the front left-hand corner of the car, chief engineer. So Johnson leading the charge, out from behind Don Smith, the Oxo Sierra, Larry Perkins, then followed by George Fury, Glenn Seaton having a look on the inside of Alan Grice. And the last time through, only 3.6 seconds separating the top 6 drivers. That's Jim right through to Dick leading the event. Amazing.
Very close. I was only remarking during the break to both Neil and Peter, rarely do you get a crook race from Adelaide International Raceway with the touring cars. Every one is just a screamer. Last year's one was sensational. And of course this one has been outstanding. Perkins supplying a lot of the action, leading the race until passed by Dick Johnson. And now having to contain George Fury while all that's happening. Just behind them, Alan Grice is the next one, and Glenn Seaton has gone missing. No, Glenn Seaton about to come onto the bowl.
No, in fact he has. He's dropped out of that bunch.
Just coming onto the bowl, actually, Glenn Seaton will pick him up for you. He's gone via the pits the old way that Peter Brock did. You'll see him entering there shortly. Just in behind that wall on the left-hand side. Meantime, Georgie Fury works away at Larry Perkins on the inside. The two of them going side by side. No room for error. Great driving, great mutual respect being shown by these two racers as they now work down towards the Bridgestone S's. So Georgie Fury has managed to pass Larry Perkins. That takes him to second. Dick Johnson, meantime, will lead the race. He comes onto the bowl at the moment, one of the Oxo Supercube cars. Right behind all this, of course, Alan Grice, carrying our Channel 7 race cam and the Bob J. T-Mart's Commodore. There's Perkins going through. There's the scrap, second, third, and Alan Grice is fourth.
Well, Grice has managed to close quite dramatically onto the back of Larry Perkins, and when you consider the gaps that we were looking at about 10 laps ago, we've got a completely rearranged race once more. It's Dick Johnson pulling well away, but this scrap for what I guess you could call second is raging. Perkins battling with Fury, and Grice just knocking on the door for somebody to make a mistake, but you don't find them too often from these guys.
Grice will cling onto him like a wet blanket. The vulnerability of the Nissan only shown so far in the demise of Glenn Seaton, and that's not really the best for Glenn, who of course went into today's race as the series leader from Jimmy Richards. George Fury, bad luck last week, and bad luck falling upon Glenn Seaton this afternoon. Keep in mind the Dick Johnson team already down to one Sierra.
Well, Nissan have won 3 of the 4 races so far. Glenn was looking down the gun barrel of having to figure out how to drop his worst round. I know which one that'll be now.
I have an idea, you're right. And I said the Johnson team down to 1. I'll correct that because Greg Hansford is now back out onto the racetrack, so he has 2 still running.
Larry Perkins' form in the championship so far has been very, very good. He's been gradually improving his point score. A second from Calder, a seventh at Symonds Plains, fourth up in Lakeside, third last weekend. And battling amongst the high point scorers at the moment. Jim Richards, car number 3, second in the championship, down 7 points on Glenn Seaton. That'll certainly be altered later this afternoon, and where he gets his big bonus is he constantly wins his class in the under 2.5 litre class. Points scored for that, together with their outright finishing positions. So Jim clinging very nicely in 4th position in a car that they said wouldn't work here, yet they said it would work well at Wanneroo.
It's remarkable, isn't it? This track is such a great equaliser, Neil. You've got 4 or 5 different makes of cars right in the hunt here at AIR.
There's only 2.8 seconds separating Dick from Jim, which is quite amazing.
How much closer do you need to get to the tail of Larry Perkins, NZ Connectors Commodores?
This is Wanneroo Park revisited.
Yes, it certainly is. So Gricey all over, or George Fury locking up a break as they came onto the bowl that time. Round 5 rages in Adelaide. Dick Johnson leads the touring car national race from Georgie Fury, Larry Perkins. More in a moment. Lap 34 of 60, round 5 of the Shell Ultra Australian Touring Car Championship. No baloney Tony for the JPS team. Tony Longhurst from Queensland running 6th on the road at the moment and trying to resist every attempt by Peter Brock to pass him. Tony's 30 years of age, comes from Brisbane, drives the BMW M3. First in the 84 Alpha Sud Series at Amaroo Park, first in the 85 Castrol 500, fourth in the Touring Car Nationals at 86, and first in the 86 Better Break Series. Those stats courtesy of Nissan. Nissan, know how. Tony Longhurst 4, clipped the wall, you'll recall, early in the race. Had smoke pouring off the rear tyre. That's all dissipated. And Peter Brock, it's taken Peter quite a number of laps to even get in touch with Tony Longhurst. So he's running 7th in the race at the moment, Peter perfect. And things not running so perfect for Peter. Car number 6, of course, we're used to seeing him in 05, but the 05 car was destroyed at Lakeside. He has a new VL Commodore under construction at the moment, and shouldn't be too long before we see the mobile Eon and Triple M Commodore, the new car, on the racetrack. Alan Grice, meantime, is making Larry Perkins work very, very hard for his money here today. And in the Bob Jane T-Mart's Commodore is Alan Grice. Good afternoon, Alan.
Hello, Mike.
Why is it that this place always produces such a great race?
Just the nature of the place, I guess.
You're working hard here with Larry Perkins. It's all closed up just a little bit in the last few laps.
Yeah, he's having a bit of trouble with his tyres. That's why I'm getting to him. But he's making it pretty hard, naturally.
Yes, well, we always remember your great race with Larry in round 4 last weekend at Wanneroo Park. Where do you think you might have the edge over him?
I've got him under brakes at the end of the straight. Although, see, he can pull away under power there. I've got him under brakes at the end of the straight, and I'm better through the fast corner than him, Mike.
I know it's a hell of a thing. I want to talk to you while you're busy there trying to haul in Larry Perkins. How does the car feel at this moment?
Pretty good. Everybody's having a bit of strife with their tyres. Mine are holding in pretty good. They're a bit greasy front and rear, but if you look at any of the cars, they're all doing the same thing. But, well, we're hanging in pretty good, I think.
No problems? Engine, everything else running well?
Yeah, everything's fine. The brakes are standing up. The engine's, it's good. You can see on the temperature there properly.
You sure can. That's one of the advantages of being able to ride with you in the car. You put the viewers in the driving seat.
Yeah, she's only running about 90 degrees, which is pretty good. See, bye-bye Larry sort of thing. I'm using 7, that's the best that I can do. And I've got to rely on the brakes all the time. Hello, he's having trouble with his rears. That's a good sign.
It is for you. Now, can you keep the mirrors on the two of these for a while? He's probably had one look in the rear vision and thought this is Wanneroo revisited.
I left the rear vision mirror off this time.
All right, we'll let you get back on and concentrate, and thanks for the visit.
Okay, mate.
Alan Grice we were riding with as he zeroes in on the tail of Larry Perkins, NZ Connectors Commodore. Now, down on the inside goes Gricey. Press, 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 a wheel up on the curb. Whoa, just out of it at the last minute. These guys play for keeps.
That was very, very close. Incidentally, Murray Carter has called to the pits in the Netcom Nissan, and news just through that Peter Brock has gone past Tony Longhurst as well. Intriguing scrap between the two Commodore V8s. Interesting that Alan made the comment to us then via the race cam that Larry's car is able to pull away down the straight. In theory, at least, the newer VL car, which is the one we're looking out of at the moment, is supposed to rev higher and harder than the older model and produce just a fraction more horsepower. But Neil Burns, the chief engineer and chief engine builder for the NZ Commodore team, has got Larry's car really working well. And as Larry said to us a couple of times during the week, why bother updating when you can do it with last year's car and save yourself $150,000? There's Murray Carter in the Netcom entry, unfortunately out. It's good to have Murray back on the trail again, and the news is with his new sponsor, he'll be with us for the rest of the championship run.
It's good to see Murray back. The car looks a treat, and hopefully he can put together some strong placings in the latter half of the championship series.
He's back out of the pits again, so it must have only been a stop for a quick check.
The scrap that we saw at Wanneroo Park last week involving Larry Perkins and Gricey was sensational, and I have no doubt this is going to be equal to that. There's Graham Hurley from Western Australia getting the Tartars from the Commodore boys.
Never ceases to amaze me how well these fellas concentrate when they're just so close to each other, and whilst all this is going on, there's generally somebody else only within a 1 or 2 second gap. Listen, who's just blapping on the throttle trying to get power to the ground. That's the problem you have when you've got 440 horsepower and a very heavy motor car. It's so hard to convey just how hard these things are to drive. And look at Grice trying very hard to squeeze through. You'll notice that Larry takes a very wide entry.
Oh, almost on the wall. Checking out the mirrors. So the man in the Chickadee Bob Jane car is still there. The other point we raise is that, of course, Graham Bailey, Chickadee man, who of course supplied the car for Gricey to run at Bathurst last year, and they won the race together, has been sticking with Gricey with support throughout the year, and that's great to see. Graham doesn't want to do any driving at the moment. Here's Graham Hurley into the pits for something's gone wrong there. The motor was off song the last couple of laps, called in to see if they can rectify it. But there's Perkins again, just locking a brake as he heads through the Bridgestone S's onto the Speedway Bowl, and now down the Yokohama back straight towards Motorcraft. Let's check the placings for you. Still, Queensland's #1 in front. Georgie Fury is second, and Lightning Larry is third. To Adelaide International Raceway, Larry Perkins. Now, right behind him is Alan Grice. So close. Ace hit him. Perkins has gone sideways in the NZ Connectors Commodore. Waltzes around the front of the car. Everything comes to an abrupt stop for a while, and away goes Grice. A little bit of contact between the two cars in this round of the Shell Ultra Touring Car title.
Well, what a sensation. The two of them were nose to tail last weekend, and they were rubbing mirrors. They've rubbed more than that this time. So Dick Johnson, flashing headlights, leads the pack away. The gap at last count was 3.3 seconds. And let's take a look at that replay once more with the compliments of Shell. They were down at the bottom part of the circuit. Grice plunging in under brakes. Did Larry lose it, or did Gricey give him a little help? Make your own decision.
That's the hit there.
It's the hit.
It was 50-50. Wasn't much.
Look at Larry.
I'd say 90-10.
Whose way?
I don't think Larry'd be too excited.
No. That's how it all happened. Meanwhile, Dickie Johnson of Brisbane leads in the Shell Ultra High Cosworth. Comes down the back straight, and I'll tell you what, Dick is opening the gap all the time over George Fury by the look of it.
Is he ever? I'll check the gap again. It was 3.3 when I last stopped the clock.
George flat-spotted a tyre a few laps back. I don't think that'd help his cause.
Alan Grice, I think at this stage, would be third on the road in the Bob Jane T. Mart's Chickadee Commodore.
That's the all-time recovery.
Is it what? And fourth place held by Gentleman Jim Richards.
Followed by Larry Perkins, who's now got Peter Brock hot on his hammer. The gap is now 5 seconds from this man here, George Fury, up to Dick Johnson, race leader. And as Pete mentioned, he had lots of problems with flat-spotting tyres coming into the left-hand approach to the bowl. But Pete, you ducked out for a moment to check on Glenn Seaton's problem. What was that?
Yeah, space-age communications. I footed it over to the pits. The simple but sad message is motor. Glenn Seaton has blown a motor, or a motor problem of some description. While I was down there too, Danny Holm is now a retiree. His problem was a turbocharger.
Well, that's certainly bad news for those two guys, but great performance here from Dick Johnson. How long has it been since we've had a Ford victory in Australian Touring Car Championship round? Dick Johnson looking pretty good for it at the moment.
Yes, I tend to think that the Sierra of Dick Johnson and even Jimmy Richards are the two guys that will fight this race out come lap 60.
Well, the battle for the minor placings is a long way from over at this stage as well, because Brock isn't too far away from Larry Perkins, and Gricey's just done the best recovery of all time to get out of all that, although his car didn't go round. And you'll notice when we had the Shell replay up before, he virtually was able to select first gear and just go again. Larry took a little longer just to get things sorted out, and probably just to get a few expletives out and carry on from there. Thank goodness Larry didn't have race cam. Good pictures, bad audio. So the order at this stage of the game, we have Dick Johnson leading from George Fury, and then further back in third place coming onto the bowl is Alan Grice in car number 2. There he is. He's just passed Peter Williamson in car number 77, the Toyota Supra. And then a fairly comfortable gap back to Jim Richards, car number 3. This championship just continues to be wiped clean, and we start all over again. There's no common denominators. Everybody's had a bit of a chance at having a pole or a win. And Alan Grice, you had some drama down the bottom of the straight. Give us your version.
You noticed that, Mike, did you?
Oh, just a bit, that's all. I mean, what would you put that one down to?
As you could see, the previous 10 times or so, Larry was having trouble with his rear brakes, and I was getting in a lot deeper than him. And on that occasion, my car was sliding all 4 wheels. He was having more rear brake trouble, and he stopped earlier than I thought he would, but my car was already sliding. If I'd not... just gets a bit greasy here.
Yep, go for it.
If I just stayed on and tried to stop my car and brake my car, I would have gone into it much, much harder, because my car was already sliding and we both would have been over in that wall. As it was, I still had some control and I was able to stay off him. Well, I'm not real sure. I guess these Yokohamas are gripping pretty well for a bit to be able to not avoid hitting him right at the eyeballs.
Well, you think Larry will see it all that way?
Larry's never happy after a race. He gets this sort of blue haze that comes down.
While we're talking, Alan, we've just got a shot of one of the JPS BMWs coming into the pits, and in fact it's Tony Longhurst with smoke pouring off a tyre, arm out, to tell Curly Gardner and the boys need some more rubber. Sorry to interrupt our little discussion.
No, it doesn't surprise me all that much, because it's obvious that the reason Jim has slipped back from me, and he's just coming into the straight now, is a long way back. Yeah. Obviously the reason that's happened is his tyres have gone away, so the old Yokohamas are doing a good job today.
They certainly are. Thanks for the plug. We'll come back and visit with you later.
Oh, my pleasure.
Thank you, my man, Alan Grice. Meantime, a little bit of panel beating going on.
Oh, no, they've dropped the car on the disc. They've actually released the air hose. They don't have a left rear tyre on there. This is sloppy pit work, and Frank Gardner won't be a happy man. The cardinal sin to drop a car before you've been cleared by the crew. Normally the crewman stands up, raises his hands in the air. Oh, there'll be some teeth gnashing going on there. Gricey's story sounded a bit like the bloke whose chin fell on your fist, doesn't it?
Yep. There's Murray Carter's Netcom Nissan Skyline.
He spun off about 3 laps ago down onto the entrance to the bowl. It's a pretty unusual sort of a spot to be parked.
Yes, he had a brake lock-up of some description and smoke pouring off it and is parked off there. Meanwhile, Tricky Dicky still leads it. Will today be the day? And both you gentlemen carry more notes than Gulliver had travels. When was the last touring car race for a championship that Dick Johnson won? Come on.
Next question.
No, you're the experts.
I haven't got my buzzer with me.
Well, it's
Sorry, Wilbur, you're
the
out.
last touring car race, or championship touring car race.
Yep.
The last touring car race would have been
Adelaide Grand Prix 1985.
No, you're not off the hook. We're talking about the touring car championship round. It's been ages. But I tell you what, there won't be a happier guy. I tell you what, our Queensland viewers will be delighted if this man can finally crack it for one. He's tried for so long with the Mustang, almost had Lakeside wrapped up, all the troubles with the tickling of the turbo, and today he leads it and is leading it comfortably. Everything is falling into place for Queensland's Dick Johnson. Let's check the placings at the moment. Tricky Dicky, go get him, boy. George Fury is second and Gracey is third. We're on lap 53 of 60, round 5 of the Shell Ultra National Touring Car Championship. Taking time out to follow Cole Bond in the Caltex Alpha, number 75, running 8th at the moment. 7th, I should say. And performances are getting better each outing for Colin Bond and the Caltex Alpha team. Should be very pleasing to Enrico Zanarini and all the folk at Caltex who have backed Colin Bond. New car, started the season off really feeling the pinch a little, but that have developed in association with the Manika boys of Melbourne, and the car is just getting more competitive at each outing.
Bondi had the boost well and truly boogieing in practice yesterday in the first session and was up amongst the top 4 runners. But then they had a problem. They changed their race engine between sessions and they found that it wouldn't take any water. They couldn't get water to run through the system. So they've had to go with a more conservative boost package today because it's an older engine and it's virtually been cobbled out of parts or remnants of the Wanneroo escapade. But as you say, quite rightly, Mike, the good news with this car is that it is coming together and we're getting more and more brands involved in the battle.
Well, I think when you consider they have 10 cars inside 1 second, that is just sensational stuff. And that's happened here today in Adelaide.
There's Brocky. He's in 4th position at the moment. Pretty good recovery from him. Greg Hansford to the pits for the 2nd time. And Brock making the best of some other guys' misfortune. Well, Hansford has called in for tyres this time. It doesn't appear to be a misfire, which was the drama in that first stop. And it's a pretty slow old stop. They certainly weren't ready for something like that, although most of the guys said that their tyres would be marginal by the end of 60 laps.
Well, we don't want to Jonah Dick, but
No.
this could be a portent of things to come, perhaps.
Not too many laps left, so
5. About 5 or so laps remain. And just when we thought that Dick had Lakeside wired, you'll recall, turbo played up and he was into the pits. But at the moment, Brocky running back there and about 4th on the road.
well, the gap between our leader Dick Johnson and George Fury in 2nd is 7.3 seconds. And then it's another pretty healthy gap from George back to Gricey. Gricey still in 3rd, 2.4 seconds in fact. And then the split back to Brock as he comes down the back towards the motorcraft turn into the bowl. We've got the watch running at the moment. It's actually a country mile. It's about half the actual size of the bowl. But nevertheless, it's points for Brock and the mobile team, and it's 13.9 seconds.
And Jim certainly looks as if he's struck some tyre problem. He's dropped down a couple of seconds a lap.
Yeah, he certainly has. Which is a surprise because it's the lightest car in the field other than the real small Geminis and what have you. And just over or a tad over 960 kilograms. It shouldn't really be wearing its tyres out, although I know I've said it before, and I've had discussions or debate on it, but the BMW constantly looks to me as though it's just a fraction tail heavy. You've driven the car, Pete. What's it like?
Oh, it's a beautifully balanced car. I know what you mean when you say it does appear tail happy, but I think it's got, what, 300 odd horsepower now, and in that weight package, it's got a great power to weight ratio and gets the tail out very, very easily.
So does Brocky's car, and he's working hard at the wheel at the moment in 4th position. Yeah, certainly not having a go at Frank or the boys. They've just engineered one of the prettiest and best handling and nicest cars you'll ever see, but it just does seem to have a slight oversteer tendency, and I just wonder whether that cooks their tyres up.
Alan Moffat was telling me during the week before he took off back to Europe that there is little resemblance between what you're seeing of the M3s in Australia and the M3s in Europe. He said that they're almost, they look like they're powered with 350 V8 Chevys the way they accelerate over there. Here's the man who leads round 5 of the Shell Ultra Nationals, Queensland's Dick Johnson. What a way to plug the sponsor. He carries the tournament sponsors' logos over his car, and he steams onto the front straight here at Adelaide International Raceway. I'll tell you what is becoming interesting, and you'll notice shortly. George Fury is running second on the road, but getting closer to Fury is Grice. There's Johnson as he comes down the front straight into the right-hander. Fury still in second spot, and Alan Grice third. Peter Brock is fourth, but a long way behind the tail of Grice. Then Jim Richards in 5th spot. Larry Perkins is 6th. And Greg Hansford coming back into the pits again as team leader. Dick Johnson comes through the Bridgestone S's, now back onto the Super Bowl once again. Checkered flag ready to come out for Dick Johnson. Setting him up. The last corner comes up. Ladies and gentlemen, after 3 years, the headlights are ablaze. Johnson has won a round of the Touring Car Nationals. He takes round 5 of the Shell Ultra Nationals today at Adelaide Raceway. Look at the dice for second in the background. George Fury in the Peter Jackson Nissan Skyline, and Alan Grice nose to tail across the line. He's finally done it. The crowd has erupted at Adelaide Raceway for Queensland's favourite son, Dick Johnson, the winner of round 5 in the nifty little Shell Ultra High Cosworth. Let's convince you of the placing. Dick Johnson wins round 5. George Fury takes second. Gricey picks up third. Welcome back to Cathedral City, where we've just witnessed round 5 of the Shell Ultra National Touring Car Championship. I don't think there's a spectator in the place who would be disappointed with the result of today's 5th round of the National Touring Car Championship. Keeping in mind we've got a lot more motorsport to come in the month of May on 7 Sport, including Amaroo Park, and quite a lot more. And to detail just a little bit of that, here's Neil Crompton with the magical month of May.
Your next appointment with our absorbing audio-visual automotive feast is in 2 weeks' time on Sunday, May 17. 7 Motorsport gets into the Amaroo action with round 2 of the AMSCAR series for touring cars, together with all the support class action for those who thump, thrill and thread their way around Australia's tightest circuit. We'll also be keeping an eye out on the World Rally Championship in France. It's round 5 for the blokes who just can't wait to get off the road again. Sports cars do their thing at Silverstone. Can Tom Walkinshaw's silk-cut Jags continue to destroy the traditional Porsche domination? We'll have the answer. The chase for the crown in the World Touring Car Championship continues in France at Dijon. The controversial title for the taxi cabs is Alan Moffat's goal this year. And we'll wrap up all the action from round 1 of the Castrol Mr Motocross series at Oran Park. May, a big month of motorsport on 7.
Plenty of good motorsport to come, but nothing wrong with today's either. Dick Johnson, congratulations. A great drive. A long time coming, mate.
Thanks, Neil. It has been a long time, and I think the last race we won was in Adelaide as well. As a matter of fact, the last 2 have been in Adelaide. So, yeah, we've been waiting a long time for this, and I'm just happy for the boys and for Shell and for Motorcraft and Palmer Tube Mills and all the people that help us. It's been a long time coming, but I think we're on the road to success now.
Any tough moments along the way?
Not really. I think, you know, I had a really trouble-free run, and I just tried to look after my tyres because that's the thing that really counts around here. I had a bit of a vibration in the car, but it obviously didn't worry it.
Well, to make the presentation, John Rowe from Shell, Retail Manager. Congratulate Dick, please, John.
Dick, congratulations from Shell Ultra to the high-tech racing team. Very well done, mate. A long time between drinks.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Now, the man who finished second, who also did a splendid job, was George Fury. He's lurking down there at the moment. If George and Alan would like to come up. Congratulations, George. It was a fine drive, but there really wasn't too much you could do about Dickie today.
No, Dickie went like a skun cat, or a skun dick. Commiserations to Glenn for not finishing. I mean, it's super bad luck for him, but congratulations to Dick, and geez, it was close towards the end. I mean, my left front tyre was right on the canvas, and I couldn't go any faster, and Grice was catching us. I think I couldn't have held him out for another lap.
What do you think it is about this track? We had 10 cars all within a second of one another after qualifying, and it's a place where horsepower is supposed to reign supreme and people disappear, but that didn't happen again.
No, I don't know why, Neil, but I mean, I'm glad that we've got a finish anyway, and congratulations again to Grice and Dick.
Well done, George. Alan Grice, that was a tough one, mate. You really did it hard.
Yeah, it was a bit that way, but the track was very, very greasy and slidey, and I think everybody's tyres were, you know, understeering and oversteering, and everybody was having a nice old slide around.
Now, before you catch up with me next week and start saying, hang on, Crompton, what did you say? I suggested your description was a bit like the bloke whose chin lobbed on someone's fist. Is that how it was or not?
Well, we were both locked up in the rear under brakes through that fast corner, and anybody that jumps on the brakes in that situation just puts both people into the wall. You know, it's all that is exactly that's happened before. You jump on the brakes, you lose your own control of your own car, hit the other one very hard, and then you're both in the wall. So you don't do that.
Impressed and surprised at the performance of the Commodore?
Well, we thought we were pretty strong because we've got our nice hard tyre working here, and when we can get that tyre working, it doesn't wear out. You know, we've got plenty of rubber left, and coming on strong towards the finish.
Any problems with the car?
No, there weren't, although it changed note, which is always a bit of a worry, and I think it's just something in the muffler is cracked or come loose, but you start to worry about things like that towards the finish.
And looking good for the next one?
Yeah, surely. You know, the amount of power we've got is fine. We're working on tyres all the time. We're going to radial soon. So we're looking forward to the next one at Sandown for us.
Okay, Dick Johnson victorious today. Congratulations, and George Fury and Alan Grice. They've all done a great job. Adelaide's done it again. We'll look forward to having your company in 2 weeks' time for more 7 Motorsport.